accommodate it.
Yeah.
We'll have a think about it with Michael.
So, if I may, Mr. Chair, question for Lloyd. If you look at those patterns for the last year and the previous year, it seems to be slightly lower in the second half, or more consistent in the second half of the year.
Yeah.
And you got your volatility in the first half. Is there any pattern that you could establish for that?
Oh, we do tend to get a bit of a lodge before Christmas sort of thing happening.
Yeah.
That tends to happen each year. But besides that, it is a bit random.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. And it's a bit of a juggle in terms of resourcing. And next slide, if I can.
Yeah. Well, that's the implication internally, isn't it?
Sorry, Lana, I can't.
Sorry, you moved it.
You're welcome, right?
I'm down now. Yeah.
Right.
You? Good.
Thanks. Yeah, so on the resourcing front, we started the year well. We were fully staffed for the first time since I've been here. And there was a bit of training involved getting the newer staff up to speed. We were going good till June last year, June this year, and we had a couple of resignations, which unfortunately hit us at the same time as the increase in consents with the development contributions. So, that not great timing, did push up our consultant use. But now as applications have gone down, consultant use has dropped. And we're now back to no consultants in terms of planning consultants being assigned to the current applications coming in.
Lloyd, did you do exit interviews? Did they go to the private sector or to other councils?
One was, yes, we did do those interviews. One chap, you might have met him, Enrico, was from South Africa. Due to personal circumstances, it didn't quite work out for him. I think some of the challenges in terms of just moving to a completely new country were too much for his family. So that was disappointing. I really encouraged him to stay on longer and see it through a bit more. But it's a decision. So yeah, that's always a bit of a risk. Disappointing. The other chap, guy from Ireland, unfortunately his partner's work visa ran out, or the employer wouldn't extend it, and because his partner had to leave New Zealand, he went as well. So it's outside our control on both of those fronts.
And you're finding it difficult to recruit ones? Is the private sector resource consenting and planners still going strong, or?
It is. I thought there would be more of a drop off.
Yeah.
We're doing good. We can attract young graduate planners. Like we've just been out advertising and we've got 30 applicants, which is really good. So we've got a good person lined up to come and join us in the new year, but at that junior level. The real struggle is senior planners and not find them.
I find them.
No. But it's similar, our neighbours in a similar boat, talking to Whangarei and Auckland, they're also really struggling to recruit experienced planners. So yeah, it's surprising. I thought they drop off in work generally and there'll be some shedding from consultants, but it's not the extent I had anticipated.
So Lloyd, on that point, through the chair, have you got enough senior people to keep momentum going? And okay, you're building the pipeline of younger ones, so there's an element of training involved.
Yep.
But are you okay at the moment for the number of senior people you'll have to get through?
Yeah, I'd like more.
Yeah.
And this is where we have to bring in consultants at that senior level. And some of the councils will really be aware, for some of those big applications, significant applications that came in July with before the DCs.
Yep.
Would have liked to have done them internally, but we've only got one senior planner internally.
Only one now.
Yeah, so I had to ship, I think it was 2 or 3 out to consultants.
Yeah.
Yeah, so definitely we need senior staff, but getting them on board.
So with those situations, are we still maintaining our position, which was pretty healthy in terms of number of days taken to process?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's very good.
Yeah, and I guess, we got to manage our consultants well. I know with one particular development out Dargaville Way, there was a bit of a lapse and we've learned from that being handled by the consultant. But you'll see, I'll comment about some initiatives.
We've got a question from Ash Nair, and then I think we'll let Lloyd carry on through his presentation. Go ahead, Ash.
Thank you, Chair. Lloyd, I just have a question I'm asking here because related to resource consents. In your report, you have mentioned that a new resource consenting system is being launched. So the first question obviously is related to, is it a handicap, the existing system, Objective Build VR, or I thought it was launched last year or something. And the second one is somewhere it's also mentioned that we have a process improvement in resource consentant with EV and HAPU. So these two factors, one of course may be an impediment, the one may be a booster. Can you explain to me what's happening? Thank you.
Yes, I can, Councillor. Do you mind if I just finish off, then jump into the improvement initiatives, and I'll definitely address those two, though, on the list.
That'd be good. Just carry on.
Cool.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, so just now sort of diving into the improvement initiatives and what we've done. First one was doing a direct customer service survey. You'll be familiar with the residents survey that's done annually and it's done quarterly. To complement that, we're doing or launched a survey that goes direct to our customers. So when we issue a consent, there's a link for them to respond to a short survey. As you can see, it's sort of the positive results here, but just really low volume of responses. So we're working on that. I don't know what it is, but some areas there that we need to feel more comfortable at the survey and sharing what they think. Just to comment on the residents survey, was pretty disappointing. It was low for the 23-24, the last one. If there is something good out of there, it's the variation in the results. They vary from 64% in Kaiwaka Mangawhai area down to 6% out west. So I don't know, it looks as though we pissed someone the people out at west off, and they gave us a real low score, better results East Coast. So maybe that's an indication that we just got to be more consistent. Hopefully if we're more consistent, we'll bring it up, the level will come up, and we won't get some of those more extreme results. And it does indicate, we can get it right. In terms of the latest survey, we've ended up around 61% variation, less variation, 69, up to 69 out of Otamatea and 50 in Dargaville. So, so we've got to keep working on it. And hopefully the improvement initiatives will see some turnaround in those customer survey results. The next one I just want to comment on is being ticked off as the practice note for peer reviews. Seems to me we were a bit on autopilot. This is where an applicant provides a specialist report, maybe it's the ecological report, talking about the bush or whatever, or visual assessment, and we get that reviewed by another consultant. I think that's excessive. It has been increasing costs. So we've just got issued a practice note that the planner makes a decision in terms of whether these reviews are required or not. It's not automatic, and we need to follow RMA requirements for when these reviews are required, and that says you can only really require them if you think there's a significant effect arising. So I think this practice note, which we've just issued, will prevent regulatory overreach and unnecessary costs being borne by applicants. The third one is we've been working on chargeable time, just making sure we've got a better feel for how our staff are performing with recovering of chargeable time. As you know, resource consents is 70% cost recovery. So we've got to make sure that we get a reasonable amount of mobilisation and chargeable time out of our staff to make sure we can deliver on the budget. Having said, the budget is under some pressure at the moment because of the reduced number of resource consents. I think I'm $100,000 off the mark at the moment. We're doing some work to pick that up with some more invoicing of work that's been on hold for a while, and hopefully we'll increase our revenue through that.
Cool.
Just turning to what's to be done, what's in progress. And the first one, Councillor Naya, is the consultation with iwi for resource consents. And this one is the last one from Mark Farnsworth's audit. This came out, was one of his recommendations to review our practice for engagement with resource consents. So we've done a practice note, got Ron Bangner to help us make sure we got the legal aspects of that right. It is rather complex, but we cut through it. I think it's a pretty good practice note. It does say that engagement with iwi is not mandatory with respect to resource consents. I'm only talking about resource consents. It's a different story for policy that Michael can tell you all about, but it's not mandatory, and that's made clear in that practice note. The practice note has just been reviewed by, I believe, the Mayor and Deputy Mayor, just to make sure it is coordinated with Council's wider view of engagement with iwi and Hapu. So we look forward to getting that out. Next one is the second one you mentioned, Councillor Naya, is the online resource consent portal. So Alistair's team have got a online portal for the lodgement and processing of building consents. Some of you will be familiar with that. It's called Objective Build. It used to be called Alpha. It means you can lodge online, all the processing is online. Applicants can log in, see where their application is at. And I think we want to do the same thing for resource consents. We can get really good improvements in efficiency and in customer service. And thank you for the funding to do this. And the tender's just gone out this week. Expressions of interest, registrations of expressions of interest, followed by requests for proposals. We've got to go to the procurement side of things. Pretty confident we'll get some reasonable responses, and we hope to launch that towards the end of this financial year.
So sorry, through the chair, if I may ask here, Lloyd, is at the moment, are there two concurrent systems for building consent and resource consent? Or is it alpha for building consent only and resource consent is manual?
Correct. On the latter, yeah. Resource consents is pretty manual at the moment, Councillor. It's there's quite a bit of duplication. Like, for example, an applicant will lodge an application by email with PDFs, and then our tech support staff have to upload that to our record system. There's a lot of emails going around. They're quite, it takes a lot of work to keep track of it all, and there is risk of errors as well. So yeah, Alice's team's building consents have Objective Build. They've been using it for how many years now? Yeah, so it's well ingrained. Yeah, I think it's something we resource consents need to move to.
Okay, thank you. Because I may need a lesson in this. I actually went on trying to see if it works, but didn't work for me. So maybe I'll see how it works for others. Thank you.
Okay, thanks. And a final one we're working on, which came as a result of more recent feedback with respect to one of the plan change resource consent application is just, if we have got a significant application being processed by a consultant, that there is a check in terms of a review internally by senior staff of the further information requests that go out by the consultants to make sure that we're not overreaching in terms of regulatory requirements. So that's a good thing. I'll put that into action. That is it, but happy to answer any questions or comments.
Any other questions?
No, thanks very much for your presentation,
Thank you.
Lloyd.
Thanks, Lloyd.
Councillors.
Thank you, Lord.
Thank you.
All right, next up we have building, improving customer experience. Thank you, Alistair.
Thanks, everyone. I take it the report is being read, Mr. Chair. So just a few slides to complement the report that was submitted. The first article was really about the BCA's accreditation assessment, which was conducted in September, our reason for existence, really. I have led the team through the last two accreditation assessments, 2022 and this year. We have seen a continual decline in the number of non-compliances that we're receiving. In 2022, we had an increase in recommendations. They become non-compliances if you haven't addressed those recommendations. So you don't have to address them, you're not obliged to under the regulations, but our continuous improvements is very strong. So we elected to take the whole lot on board. And I think that's a reflection of only having 6 non-compliances and 2 recommendations this year. So it's a credit to the team and the efforts they've put in. And we also had a recognition for best practice in the continuous improvement philosophy that we follow. So yeah, we're one of the best in the country for that.
Cool.
Yep,
Good done.
it was a good result.
Can we ask questions? We'll go through, Mr. Chair,
If
or?
something is particularly pertinent comes to mind.
Pertinent, I raised this at the Audit Risk and Finance the other day. Just so we understand, general non-conformance, because in the AFR papers there was another word used, versus serious non-conformance. How are we differentiating?
The technical word is non-compliance. So
Yeah, well,
yeah, serious non-compliance is where you don't have a procedure that's documented
yep.
that addresses the regulation requirement. Whereas a general non-compliance is you have a procedure that's written or it's partially incorrect or it's
Okay.
it has some gaps depending on what the regulation requires and or we're not following that procedure. That's the other component to it.
Okay, so it's more an internal, our internal documentation related to legislation.
Yes, yes. If they have a general non-compliance in the first accreditation assessment and they see the same thing happening again, you will now get a serious non-compliance.
Okay.
Yeah. So they're making it tougher for BCAs to perform. Yeah, which is good.
And this all comes from IANZ.
Yes, correct.
Okay. That's cool. It's good tracking. It's tracking
Yeah,
exactly the right way.
yeah, it is. So we're just waiting for the clearance on the evidence that we provided to them to come in. So the building surveys that we undertook, we started this back in March of 2023. So it's now a pretty mature surveying process that we go through. We report monthly, quarterly. I've shown some quarterly results here and a full year result. Last month, we got 100% for processing, which is very unusual. Typically, that is, you're usually getting comments from designers or architects about they're challenging the code or our interpretation of the compliance pathway, as opposed to an individual's interaction that they're having with the client. It's more about their interpretation over the legislation or building compliance. So that's where the debates get held.
Yep.
But we received 100% in October and 3 very detailed compliments about processes in particular, 2 with contractors and 1 internal one. So that was good. And they were complex consents. So I'll talk a little bit further about this at the last couple of slides when I come to MetLife Care. So our performance processing consents within 20 working days sits at 99.5%. It's a good result. It's the best we've had in the last 3 years. I'm glad to say that we took on, it's an optional module that Objective Build, the building consent online system has. It's called a request for information or an RFI module. We actually took that on board because we wanted to do away with the processor interpreting the statutory time clock when RFIs are released. Now they have no control over that clock. So depends on what you select, your decision, the clock will activate, turn off and on based on that decision. We have no way of influencing that clock any further. So IONS were really complimentary that we took this on. So and it has really aided the processes in the processing of consents. So that's a good step forward for us. The next one for us is taking the new inspection app module on as well. And that'll eventually allow us to look at remote inspections using proper software that will do it. So I'll talk about that maybe at another session. In procurement strategy, we've had a chance to review the contractor pool because we will need to look at increasing that pool. It's not about spending more money. It is about preparing the BCA for an anticipated increase in building consents in late 2025. We also have a contractor, he's a sole operator who specialises in commercial consents. He's likely to retire in the near future. So we need, again, to prepare for his exit from the industry to ensure that we have another contractor or contractors available to take on commercial building work for us. I just want to restate that we would only use a contractor as and when required. We don't have the competency in-house to do that, or we don't have the capacity. So that's the only time we would use them for that.
Is that the guy from Christchurch?
Yeah. He's been around a while, it's good.
Do we, through the chair, Alison, do we find, as a general rule, where you use a contractor, is that more likely to be implicated in going over the processing timeline?
No.
No?
It's good again to have the RFI module installed because it controls their activity as well. It puts greater accountability on them to manage that. The statutory time clock they can't manage themselves. It's done automatically. So again, it keeps pressure on. So I realise this is not in the report, but I think in terms of economic development, it's worth sharing. The first 4 consents have come in for MetLife Care, which is really encouraging. The value of building works is looking really encouraging. Now, the value of building works drives our revenue, which is important to note. We're going to use this opportunity to get 4 of our processes internally to take them on board and do them as a group, so they'll be processed as a group. So if we have to send a request for information out, the same request will go to all 4 consents, exactly the same piece of information. That's going to provide a very consistent approach to the client, because I'm conscious that if I go to the next slide, it shows the site plan for MetLife Care, and the yellow highlighted area denotes the first 4 building consents that have come in. So I'm really pleased to see they're not bulk loading these consents into multiple villas. They're breaking them down into 2 or 3 villas per block.
Per block.
Or 2 per consent. So we're going to see a high volume of consents coming in over that next few years. So it's really encouraging to see that. What I wanted from the team is to make sure that when we see more of these coming in, we're going to be processing them in exactly the same way so that they get a very consistent approach. It was a really good workshop with them yesterday because we've agreed that we need to look at this kind of thing for Mangawhai Central as well, because we expect to see some medium density housing and we need to be processing those things in a very consistent manner. We're going to get our contractors involved in this as well, so that they're seeing the same dialogue and same process that we're following. I think that will really help us deliver a much more consistent service.
Considering the, you know, the size of MetLife Care, they're a big outfit, right?
Yep.
So, does it help that because they've got that degree of size and experience that you're getting really good application coming from them as well? Does that help?
Yes, they are good. Yeah, good geotech, good engineering, design, firewall ratings. Yeah, no, from the consents we've seen so far, it looks very encouraging. Yeah,
So it allows you to be more efficient yourself as well.
yeah. And of course, once you've processed the first 4 and you're seeing the 5th one come in, if it's very similar to this, we've done all the homework.
Yeah.
The other previous 4, it will make processing so much easier. So we'll be able to turn them around a lot faster.
So you're really, sorry, Mr. Chair, you're really checking in for exceptions.
Yeah, in a sense, yes, yeah. We do have to be careful because not all the villas are exactly the same.
Yeah.
These 4 consents are similar in design, but we're going to see some bigger villas coming up and further down the hill. So geotech, the soil composition starts to change and that sort of thing. So there'll be other dynamics, but at least the process that we follow is the same.
Soften them up and then sneak one through.
Yeah.
Through the chair, I just have a question for you. So you did mention that you're getting the software which will allow remote inspections. Would it also have the capability to surveillance, like to see what is not non-compliant happening in the district? Would it be possible to catch the non-compliant people and find them?
Thank you, Councillor. If I understand correctly, are you talking about the remote inspection software?
Yes, that's right.
You have to be very careful about what type of inspection we're dealing with. We're talking about low risk types. You wouldn't do, for instance, a final, you wouldn't do a pre-line inspection. They're too complex. You need greater, because you're going to be measuring moisture of timber framing, you're going to be doing pressure testing, you're going to be doing levels, etc. Whereas some of the simple foundation inspections, yes, you would cover through a remote inspection. Yeah.
No, that's fine. Sorry, my question is more related to, as you do remote inspection, you will be able to see any non-compliant development happening, or maybe tiny houses or something in the vicinity, which you will be able to catch it on the software, I guess.
It'll depend, again, it depends on the type of inspection, but you do have to trust your builder in this process, because I wouldn't be doing a remote inspection on every builder across Kaipara District. You'll be doing site inspections, because a good builder would typically, you wouldn't find non-compliance. A good builder that's doing their job properly would do a good build. Finding non-compliance is only as good as the camera that they're waving across the or videoing the actual building work in question.
Okay.
If it's good to say, Alistair, that this deals with an individual site, it doesn't have a holistic approach over a whole suburb to find non-compliant issues. It only deals with an individual site, which is with the consent. And I think that's where Councillor may be getting confused.
And there has to be a degree of training. MBIE have released some guidance on remote inspections, and it is about the inspector needs to be trained on how to drive the inspection itself. They're in control of that inspection, the entire process.
Yeah, but this doesn't do a fly over a whole suburb and find all the non-compliant buildings.
No. We're talking about a very specific, it could be a follow-up inspection and you're only wanting to focus on one component. Yeah.
Thank you for the clarification. Cheers.
So I'm happy to take any.
What's the projected building period from start to finish for MetLife? Because it looks like it's
5 years.
It's 5 years.
First indication we had, yes.
It's a lot of work to do in 5 years. There's a lot of units in there.
Yes, there is. It's a very large commercial block with the medical centre in it, the pool, reception, cafe.
Yeah.
So very exciting.
Ready for us.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much, Alistair.
Thanks, Alistair.
She booked a room next to each other.
Yeah.
Shared ensuite.
Our next item is the economic development lead update, which I don't see in my files here.
No, we don't.
Peter, do his report.
Is he not coming?
He was online. We've
was.
arranged the voice messages.
Have you phoned him?
Yes, twice,
Oh, okay.
different numbers.
We just, if, you know, we'll just grab a cup of coffee, 5 minutes, and then we'll see if he shows up. Have our break now.
Okay. Thank you all. We've just lost Paul. He was online and we can't get hold of him, so you've got me. Do I need this? I'll go without the PowerPoint presentation because I don't know what really is in there. So where are we at with the economic development roadmap? You've seen the attachment that he's got in there. Obviously, he is working hard to establish the advisory panel, and he's confirmed members of the advisory panel. Now he's just confirming a first meeting, which he's scheduling to happen before the end of this calendar year, and set up some terms of reference. And that advisory panel will hold Paul to account to deliver the economic development strategy, which you approved at council. He's also establishing strong connections across the district and also regionally and into Auckland as well. He is working to find a way to stand up a business incubator to support businesses, startups, entrepreneurships across Kaipara as well. So having access to templates, websites or coaches access to help develop into that space. Through the release of the economic development strategy, Paul received a lot of queries in the space of the film tourism. I think we've had about 4 or 5 queries specifically about film tourism. So what we're doing now is focused on creating some kind of film policy and a process to manage those queries coming through. So what do we provide them? What do we share with them? Who do we with? Obviously, that's a real key focus and a drive for people coming and touching base.
Hayley. Ash, I think you've got your hand up. Can you just just let Hayley get through the presentation before?
Sure.
Thank you.
And then finally, obviously, the investment tourism website. So the investment tourism website, we've got INPEX coming up that Mr. will be supporting. And that website is achieving strategy 5, which is the investment in tourism. So there's a lot of work going on in this space. And what we're also doing internally at KDC is looking at extending this economic development role, which is flagged to a fixed term role to end early next year. So we're flagging this to extend this for a further 12 months. It's a fixed term role at KDC. So happy to take any questions.
Ash Nair, thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I don't know whether, Haley, you can answer this question. Maybe Mr. Morris can answer the question. I am just concerned about the scope of this, our committee, in terms of cost to ratepayers. So I just want to know, do we have a budget? We are going into advisory panel. We don't know what the cost there. We are having a website and all those things. That's a different presentation. But have we actually allocated some amount towards economic development lead role?
Through the chair, no, there's no budget to deliver. The advisory panel is a zero cost. It's people volunteering their time to ensure that there is economic development across the district, and the key significant stakeholders in that space that are holding KDC to account through that role. But there's no specific budget that's allocated to this, and any budgets such as the website budget, those sit against different teams, business units at KDC. So in the website space, that sits within community engagement and the welcoming communities budget. So there's no specific budget assigned to this at all.
Yeah.
Thank you. Mr. Morris probably would have clarified better. But I unbudgeted, no limit kind of thing. I'm just concerned. So yeah.
There's no unbudgeted spend through the chair. There is no spend associated to this initiative at all. There's only Paul's time and Paul's effort.
Okay.
Any more questions through the chair?
Councillor Howard, then Mayor Jepson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Haley, the advisory panel. Can we just be clear? So have all of the members now been approached and confirmed?
All the members have been approached. They've all confirmed their availability, bar one. So we're chasing one more person to make sure that we can confirm that and get that date set. But yes,
Okay, so
5 people identified.
yep, okay. So will that first meeting go ahead with or without that last person?
That's the aim, to have the first initial meeting before Christmas.
And how will they interface with us, this group, in terms of developing priorities and more particularly, if it's in their mandate, promoting the actions required?
So I'll let Paul respond to that at the next meeting once he's got those terms of reference set up, because I imagine that the terms of reference will drive a lot of that. But they will be holding account. So within the economic development strategy, there were those clear actions, the high, medium, low actions, and the focus is on delivering high and medium actions within the next 2 years. And that's their role, would be to driving and holding us to account, checking that we're doing what we need to do.
Yeah, I just wondered, I guess, whether we should be across what the proposals will be for that terms of reference and in advance.
Yeah, okay. I can ask Paul to share the proposed terms of reference with this committee.
Thanks.
Thank you, councillor Howard. Mayor Jepson.
You probably, I would anticipate you have included organisations like North Link, North Chamber, Dargable, Development Board, those people.
Yes, I know that Paul's spoken to all of them. Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay, thanks very much, Hayley.
Problem.
Thank you.
Cool. Let's get it going.
Head into our workshop now. Thank you, Alana.
Councillor Nair, if I can, just wanted to say that Hayley's responses were better than what I would have provided.
Okay, thank you.